The Blue Jays apparently reek of desperation. We got all that and more on this week's episode of Buds and Blue Jays. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, November 15th, and welcome to episode 221 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things Toronto Blue Jays related. Jesse Burrell alongside Jesse Tricio. And Jesse, you are back. Glad to have you back. I hope you're feeling a lot better. It sounds like the sickness you had last week going through was quite tough for you, but you look great, my guy. You're all here, ready to go, and ready to talk some Blue Jays offseason baseball.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a rough one. I definitely, if it was what the Jays had earlier in the year, like Springer and that, then yeah, it knocked me right out. Couldn't eat for a few days, and if anyone that knows me, I like to eat.
Don't we all, my guy? That's probably one of the underrated or one of the worst things about getting sick is that it really just does kill your appetite. But either way, I'm glad you're back. You didn't miss a ton in Blue Jays land. No major signings, no major news yet. However, the rumor mill has been circulating like crazy, like we thought it would from the Toronto Blue Jays. And we have even some quotes from some reporters saying the Blue Jays reek of desperation. So before we get into the Juan Soto rumors, our sales pitch on why Juan Soto should come here and touch on some of the free agent pitchers and whatnot, just hearing the quote, Jesse, reek of desperation. What do you take away from that?
It smells like victories.
Does it? Okay. Tell me more.
Because why I say victories, because Atkins and Shapiro are probably both on the hot seat right now.
Yeah.
Because they're in their final year and they're looking for that extension. Because if they fail this, what team will really want to bring them in? Because they don't have that track record of success, like even with back in their days with the Guardians or the Indians, as they were formerly known. So desperate times we call for desperate measures. They have a lot of weak holes that we have right now in our lineup and rotation, bullpen. We have a multi-billion-dollar corporation that owns us. It's time for I'll use as she's coming to Toronto, so if you call using a blank space for all the zeros.
I love that. So, go ahead.
So I would you have the players all those big names, and I could see them just be being our AL East rivals and their brother from the same city, just having that open book to spend.
Okay. I guarantee you this will not be the first Taylor Swift quote that makes its way through the episode here today, just as she is doing her show in Toronto this weekend. We've linked you make a lot of good points there, Jesse. We've linked this front office a lot to a politician when he knows he's about to be up for election. You will do and you will say anything to try to keep your job. And that's what it really feels like Ross Atkins is doing here, trying to get the good players in here. Look, desperation can work. We've seen it. Sometimes you can go all in. Alex Anthopoulos pushed his chips all in 2015. And even though we didn't win the World Series, we won the AL East for the first time since 93, and we were able to make our way up there. So there is a chance this could work. However, as you mentioned, the Blue Jays have so many holes to fix. Even if we do end up getting Juan Soto to come in and sign on the bottom line, decides to love Toronto, plays as his normal superstar self, we still have a lot to go here. So before we get into Juan Soto specifically, do you believe that Ross Atkins can do it, that he can fix this team? Or are we throwing darts at a dartboard that's not going to stick?
I feel like we're like that viral video where the guy's standing there with an apple on his head and the dart goes in his hand. So it'll stick, but probably not in the place we want it to stick. So there's a bunch of players that I've seen that I might fill holes for the Jays that could be good pieces, and also players that can be signings or trade targets that are available, and even some that aren't even in this country that we've mentioned before. But there's a lot of options, and I feel like they need to at least get a handful of them.
Yep, and we've gone over on a few of them on our other episodes of who the exact names are we should acquire, and we'll probably dive a little bit deeper in this episode of doing that as well. But first, Jesse, 5 minutes in, the Blue Jays came out this week, and we know from a Jeff Passan report that they had a meeting scheduled with Juan Soto. Now, it was us, the Red Sox, and then 2 New York teams. Reports have been coming out today that the Red Sox have already had their meeting with Juan Soto, so therefore we can put 2 and 2 together, and we know that the Toronto Blue Jays have already had their meeting with Juan Soto. And what we also know is that Juan Soto is not a Blue Jay, at least yet. So we didn't immediately knock his socks off right away and make him leave no doubt in his mind to sign here. But the Blue Jays probably made a very strong case. There was one report out there that the Blue Jays just are really, really, really into Juan Soto. Like, not just we want him. It's like, no, we have to get this guy. So we'll see about that. But say you are Ross Atkins, Jesse. Your job. You've got Juan Soto. You've got Scott Boras coming into your living room right now, and you have 90 seconds to make the sales pitch on why you should choose to play for the Toronto Blue Jays. What's your pitch? What are you saying to try to convince him to sign on the dotted line?
You told me about this before, and I definitely have put some thought on it. So here is the monologue for our fans to listen. So Mr. Soto, my name is Jesse Trezio, co-host of Buzz and Blue Jays.
Love that.
We're a podcast on the rise, and we are serious fans of this Toronto Blue Jays team. Mm-hmm. You have played in the U.S. Capitol. You have played in the Big Apple. You played on the West Coast. Why don't you play for a whole country of fans around you, millions of fans, and even 50,000 every day when you're at home? We make your road games feel like you're at home. Why not come to Toronto? We were the first team to have any baseball academies in the Dominican Republic, and we have had a strong history of Dominican players such as George Bell, Tony Fernandez, Edwin Encarnacion, Jose Batista, Teoscar Hernandez, and your co-star on this team, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. With you signing here, we will extend Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for your duration of your contract, so you can be the Dominican Bash Bros. This is why you need to come to Toronto. Plus, we do on some of the perks of the stadium you'll be playing. We have a lot of lounges and bars that you can have your festivity and families, and we have a hot dog seesaw for your kids to play on. But the icing on the cake is any seat you have, there's cup holders. You don't have to worry about your spilled drinks and cervezas. So why not come here?
Hell yeah,
and
man!
Screw the evil empire, and screw the Red Sox, and even screw whoever else wants to be the Big Apple of the wannabe Yankees in the Mets with a fantasy player owner. So come to Toronto. We're always happy, and we always have a good coffee.
Yeah, Jesse, I love that, my guy. If I'm Juan Soto, you've definitely got my ears perked up a little bit. Like, in New York, they just have a giant apple that hangs out in center field. No, we got a hot dog seesaw, my guy. I don't know about you, but we're both guys who love to eat over here. We'll take the hot dogs over the apple anytime. I'm with you. Great point. Great pitch. I want to mention that your points about the Dominican and playing there is very key. And I guarantee you the Blue Jays in their negotiation pitch had mentioned their Dominican ties. I think the Blue Jays are the most popular team in the Dominican Republic, and I don't think it's really close. Like, some of the players you mentioned, you can throw in like Carlos Delgado, I believe. Maybe he was
Puerto Rican.
Yes, that was it. Yeah. But either way, in Central and Latin America, like, the Blue Jays have been huge for forever. And there's a lot of ties to him going back home. I know that Vlad Jr. and Juan Soto are playing Call of Duty together the other day, so I bet you they're using Vladdy in their sales pitch here. And I think if Juan Soto does ultimately choose to come to Toronto, a large part of that is going to be because of his friendship with Vlad Jr., and a lot of it is going to be all that. Now, you made an interesting point there, which I want to echo. There's not a chance Juan Soto is signing here unless Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is also with him long-term, right? So the Blue Jays would have either had to made Juan Soto a promise that, yes, Vlad is going to get signed and extended here. And if that is the case, like, if you're Juan Soto and you're in that meeting and they tell you, yeah, we're going to sign Vlad to a long-term extension, Juan Soto's immediately going to go to Vlad, his buddy, and be like, hey, the Blue Jays just said they're guaranteed they're going to sign you. You should ask for a couple more $1 million. And, Like if I'm Vlad and his agent, that's
Exactly.
exactly what I would be doing and trying to get the most money you can out of this team. So it's very interesting. And I think that needs to get done first before any Juan Soto movement is going to happen here in Toronto.
Oh, I know. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it, and I was saying, what if they do like one of those co-signing things, where kind of like they both sign the same day and do that presser with them signing?
That would be insane. That would be one of the biggest Blue Jays press conferences I think I've seen in a long time. And then there's just Bo Bichette just kind of sitting out there, like, you know, that meme where it's a SpongeBob meme where they're watching the guys play and there's Squidward just looking out the window. That's how it would feel with Bo Bichette going through and
Oh,
looking
definitely.
at this Blue Jays team. Yeah. Either way, I like the sales pitch. I like the call. And who doesn't love a good cup holder, my guy?
Exactly.
We got it's crazy about the cup holders last year. And, you know, as someone who's used those cup holders at some point this year, makes a lot of sense. I'm with you, my
That
dude.
saved $20 for me.
That is very true. It absolutely does. Do you feel confident at all then that the Blue Jays are actually going to sign Juan Soto? Or do we think, again, he's always going to be in New York? He's always wanted to play in New York, kind of like Shohei Ohtani last year, how he was always going to be a Dodger. Do you think there's actually a chance, like, give me a percent chance that you think on opening day, Juan Soto is in a Blue Jays uniform?
I don't want to be hurt like I was last year, so I'm trying not to be over positive because I don't really want to track some planes, even though it's not that long of a flight.
Yes.
I want to say I'm about 70% certain
that he will be a Blue Jay?
That he will be.
So you are thinking it's way more likely than not now at this point that he'll be a Toronto Blue Jay.
I feel like there's way more, like, especially with the desperation and all this stuff we're hearing about how much they're willing to do the Ohtani budget for him and roster manipulation for him, not like the deferral, but like going way above into that like luxury tax threshold to be that team. What they were going to do with Ohtani if we got him. So I feel like they still have that blank check that they had set for last season.
It's a very interesting point, Jesse. I wonder, just a conspiracy theory here, if the money that Rogers Center is getting from the Taylor Swift tour coming in through here is affecting their budget at all, and they're going to make us so much money, and maybe they throw that into the Toronto Blue Jays team. I don't know.
Also in March for the wrestling fans that are out there, there is a pay-per-view that's coming to the Rogers Center too, right before the season.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, there very well could be onto something. I'm not that high, Jesse. I'm thinking it's maybe still 15-20%. I still think he's ultimately going to end up in New York. These sports betting odds, which is something I like to look at for things like these, because those books know, right? They know where these things are going. Still have the Blue Jays in third behind the Yankees and Mets, but ahead of the Dodgers and Red Sox as the next team for Juan Soto to play for. So we will see. It will be very interesting. I think we are going to get a Juan Soto decision sooner rather than later. Like he's going to have these team meetings probably with New York this weekend. And the winter meetings are 3 weeks away. Like I bet you that
I believe they're December 14th, from what I was reading.
So it's a month away. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if the Blue Jays, like, or at least we had a clear decision that we are the in or out on Juan Soto by that point, because we can't have this offseason what happened last offseason when Shohei Ohtani, it was right around Christmas he signed, I believe, or maybe a week before it. Like we can't go that late into the offseason without making a major move and just waiting on the Juan Soto decision, because else we're going to be in trouble again. So.
No, exactly. Like we could have traded for Juan Soto last season, but we were waiting for Ohtani, and then it bit us in the ass.
Yeah, and that I hope the Blue Jays, if anything, have learned from their mistake last year and do not actually do that. One more point on Juan Soto, Jesse. Say we do sign him. Say we sign Vlad, right? You put him right in that 3-hole in the lineup. He hits there. He mashes. How much of a difference maker do you think just adding that bat into our lineup would be? Does it boost top 5 in baseball in offense?
I would say it would be an astronomical boost for our offense, clearly, because it's been so dreadful last few seasons. I would say it'd be similar to what happened in 2021 when Vlad has Semien hanging in front of him. Right. You have that guy behind, like you either pitch to Soto or you pitch to Vlad and pick your poison. Like you can either risk Soto and whoever's leading off be on base and pitch to Vlad and be down 3, like or at least one minimum 1, max 3, or you pitch to Soto and then still could possibly down 1 or even 2, and then like it gives them more opportunities to come up too.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you pick up another, and then if you pick up say a I'm just throwing out there, say like a Pete Alonso as well, or a Santander, or even a Castellanos or Bowman. We'll discuss that later. In the four hole or 5, though you're risking like it's almost like Murderer's Row when we had it in 2015 when we had Edwin Batista. Like everyone was hitting on that team in 2015.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, good hitters make your lineups deeper, right? That's not a surprise to anyone here. Juan Soto will do exactly that. And the Blue Jays really did need that. We saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. get pitched around a little bit towards the end of the season because, like, Spencer Horwitz, good player, but he doesn't strike fear into you at all when he's hitting behind Vlad, right? Aside from Juan Soto, is there any other player that's available that would strike fear into an opposing pitcher? Like Pete Alonso, yeah, I can run into a bunch of home runs. Anthony Santander can run into a bunch of home runs, but they don't strike fear in the way into me Juan Soto does. So to me, it feels like it's Juan Soto or nothing, right?
I would 100% agree. Like I don't like. There's right now like the only players like the only way I think of players that have caused fear for like a pitcher like is in the past like Barry Bonds. Yes, the PED allegations or like Mark McGuire's like during the steroid era, like Sammy Sosa, like even when the Jays had Delgado and that, it's just like the fear those players cause and Batista, Edwin, all that. Like pitchers did not want to face that, or MVP Donaldson is like there's really not many players in the league that have that fear, and like Juan Soto does.
And just to wrap up on Juan Soto, because I agree it would be a great fit. It would work very well here. TSN Scott Mitchell reports an estimated 14-year, $701 million contract. Do you do that? Do you give that to Juan Soto?
Yeah, it's not my money.
Good point. But it is
it
is a lot of commitment. It is a lot of years. You are taking Juan Soto to play here until he's 40 years old. We've seen how the George Springer contract, who's a lot less money than what Juan Soto will be making, has really affected this Blue Jays team. Like, if you're signing Juan Soto to this, it's World Series or bust. You've got to win a World Series, or else it's going to be a long decade worth of losing for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Oh, definitely. Like you said, World Series or bust, but it's like we need to do something like that because, as you saw at the end of the year, the buzz around the team, even the stadium, it was really diminishing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we were even when we were at the baseball towns. Yeah, it was a great time, but boy, there wasn't a lot of positive things to talk about the Jays while we were there.
Yeah, and vibes around this team as a whole are just down. Like, we have a bottom 5 farm system in all of baseball. I don't know how we're going to make these trades to get these guys when all of our top pitching prospects are gone, right? We had the worst bullpen in all of baseball by far, right? We have a couple fine hitters and then one superstar, and that's it. But our offense, didn't hit any home runs last year. Like, there is a lot wrong, and our pitching staff aging, getting older, right? It wouldn't surprise anybody if a lot of those starters took a step back next year. Like, there's a lot of holes in this Toronto Blue Jays team. And sure, we played better in the second half, right? Sure, our offense was in the top half of baseball in the second half last year. And maybe you could say with a better bullpen, it gets better and we're an 85-win team again. But that's a lot of ifs, man. And that's like, we need a George Springer to not continue his decline, which I don't think is going to happen. I think he's going to get worse next year. Bo Bichette needs to bounce back, which possible. I don't think I'm buying it that much. Like, there's a lot that needs to go right for this Toronto Blue Jays team. And Juan Soto just it's like throwing a Band-Aid on like a cement crack. It's like, there we go. This will fix it. And you slap it really tight and then there you go. And I don't think that's the solution the Blue Jays need.
Or the saying I like to say is lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just a prettier pig, right? And that's how I feel about this Toronto Blue Jays team. It's got a lot more to go. Anyways, good discussion on Juan Soto there. We will see. You seem more optimistic than I am, and I don't think it will happen. However, if it does, hell yeah, I'll buy that Juan Soto jersey. Let's go. Like, I will get it. We will make it happen.
We'll be in line. We'll be in line, waiting right for like first in line, sleeping like with our lawn chairs and sleeping bags, wanting that jersey.
You are damn right we will, Jesse. Absolutely. We will get that done. But let's touch now on some other free agent rumors that the Toronto Blue Jays have had that have circulated over the past week. Some of them we talked about with Dave on last episode, but Jesse, I do want to get your thoughts on it here. The first one, star Japanese pitcher Roki Sasaki is going to be posted by his team, 23 years old. He won't cost a ton, nearly as much as like Yoshinobu Yamamoto did when he came over. It'll be very similar to what Shohei Ohtani's deal looked like when he first came over. So he could be had. He could be had at a cheap price. For those of you who don't know, he might be the best pitcher who currently is not in Major League Baseball. He's thrown as hard as 102 before. That splitter apparently is nasty, like a lot of Japanese pitchers have. Good stuff, good arsenal, 23 years old. Does have a lot of innings under his belt already, though, for what it's worth, but has shown flashes of dominance. Let's hear your thoughts, my guy, on Roki Sasaki and whether the Blue Jays are going to be players for this Japanese pitcher.
I would love them to, but again, looking into further in that, because I did mention it in a previous episode, and the Jays don't have a lot in the international money right now. But
yes, but I feel like it resets if they wait a certain date. I think if they go into January 15th, it will reset into next year, so then they get their money back.
No, exactly. So like we don't have a month right now, but like again, if it resets, then it's a different story. But the one thing I was hearing recently about Sasaki was that the Dodgers may not actually be in on him because of just the international money and all that. So like this is showing like it could be a whole like kind of Shohei situation where maybe yes, the Angels aren't a small market, but like it'd be this type of team that will sign would be more like a small market, like smaller for the small market instead of like the powerhouse Dodgers, where they're pretty much make an all-star team every year, and then would add him if he wasn't a minor league deal because of the whole international. So like I've been hearing that. So if that's the case, the Jays odds may have gotten higher because of again we have like Toronto is a melting pot of different cultures, a large Japanese population. It could really help us, and like we've had players like Nori Kawasaki, Vasquez Kato now is back in the organization.
Yusei Kikuchi was here for a long time, right?
Yusei Kikuchi, we've had Hideo Nomo pitch for us and all that. So we have had a history of like the Japanese players and coming here. It's like, so why not us?
Yeah, I mean, it would make a lot of sense. The Blue Jays have always seemed to be interested in a player with that type of upside. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. The problem is like, we just hired a new amateur scouting director, right? And we'll touch on that later in the episode. And if the Blue Jays spend most of their international bonus pool money on Sasaki, then we're basically shutting out the whole Dominican market this year. And I don't know if the Blue Jays want to go that route. But Sasaki's exciting, man. I've been watching this guy pitch. Well, because it's in Japan, but I've been following along with his pitching career for at least over 2.5 years now. And I really do like the guy. I think he's going to be special. Like, I think he could be better than Yamamoto. But Dave on last week's episode brought up a good point. A lot of innings under his belt, 23 years old. He has yet to have any sort of elbow surgery or arm surgery. You've got to think one of those is coming in his future. So there's always that risk. But that's the risk with any pitcher you sign, right? So keep that in mind.
Well, like that's the joke I said. Like we probably led the league with Tommy Johns this year for
our whole system for sure. Yeah,
and then there's also the other Japanese pitcher too. They're saying that was supposed a couple of years ago, but no one bit Sasugo, I believe his name is.
Yes,
that could be also coming too.
Yeah, real quick on him though. Is I don't think I'm interested in him. If you look at his Japanese numbers, the strikeouts are so low. He seems to be a pitch to contact guy. He throws low 90s. Like, yeah, he could be like a Kyle Hendricks type guy, but a guy coming over to Japan, from Japan over to North America, where the numbers seem to jump at different baseball. Like, I don't think it's going to be a Shoto Imanaga thing. Like, I'm getting massive red flags from that other Japanese pitcher. I have no interest.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't really like. I'm more keen, obviously, Sasaki because that's like a generational type of pitcher that could be coming over. Almost like how they thought like Daisuke was, or like and all those type of pitchers in the past. But like again, this the other one, like if he's more of a contact pitcher, definitely don't want him in a JC more because our ballpark's not the best for that.
Yeah, and our defense, especially if Vlad has to play third base next year, which we've talked about before, it could take a step back and be a little bit worse. So we will see on that. But the next big move, or big name, I suppose, the Blue Jays have had interest in this winter is Max Fried, Jesse. And out of all the big end starting pitchers, Corbin Burns, Blake Snell, Max Fried, I think I ranked Max Fried third of that list. I'd rather have the other two, but the Blue Jays' interest in the left-hander seems to be quite real. What is your take on the Blue Jays potentially trying to land a Max Fried this winter?
Definitely caught me off guard in the sense of us going after a big name pitcher because again, our rotation is good and like we're more like we're pretty much set like in that sense where like they have the innings, their experience and all that. But looking more into it, it like it's almost it's not a won't be a bridge deal, but it's almost like a bridging with like Bassett leaving this year or after this year, then Johnson possibly the year after that. At least we have that true ace, and then within those 2 years of like Bassett and Johnson possibly leaving, you'll have players like hopefully Ricky Tiedemann or Trey Savage, um, Jake Bloss or whoever, like Adamaco and the stuff, like players like that possibly making their MLB debuts. Yario Rodriguez will still be here. So
Yep.
Belden Francis. So them signing that it was straight call me off guard, but thinking about it further, it's like it's almost he'll be the ace, and then we have that hostile group coming within the next few years. Back from injury, even Alec Manoa too will be back. Like just we have a good cluster of pitchers who are right now on the shelf that could be coming back or being part of that rotation.
Yeah, we have to talk Jake Bloss at some point. We haven't mentioned him yet this season, but I think he's actually very key for the success of this Toronto Blue Jays team. So put a pin in that. We will talk Jake Bloss at some point later in the future. Max Fried is interesting to me. 31 years old, Jesse, soft tossing lefty. My thoughts on Max Fried, especially as he gets older, he's on the wrong side of 30 now, is that he has been dominant at times and he's still shown flashes of dominance this past season. But if you just go through and look at the game logs, which I'm going to pull up here, he had his blow up starts got out of hand often. And Aaron Nola in Philly is the same thing. Like when he's bad, he's like really bad, right? And I don't love seeing that from pitchers. I don't have a way to quantify it yet, right? Every pitcher in baseball gets hit around a little bit, like unless you're Paul Skeens, but they all do, and they all go through that. But yeah, he had 7 or more starts with 4 or more earned runs allowed this season. A couple of them bad ones, the walks got in on him a little bit. I'm kind of worried, like we saw it with Chris Bassett coming into this season, who was kind of the same way, who was really good most of the time, but every now and again, he just had one start or two where he just lost it. And then this past season, we saw that number jump even more for Chris Bassett. That's what I'm worried is going to happen here with Max Fried, especially if we have to give him like the Kevin Gausman deal, which is like 5 years, $31 million for a guy who's already 31 or 131 million. I am kind of worried about that just a little bit for Fried. But, the Blue Jays faced Max Fried this year, and he went 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run allowed. So maybe the Blue Jays are looking at that, and he can still put it together. And, hey, that's just one more soft-tossing left-handed pitcher with a great curveball that the Blue Jays won't have to face, I suppose.
Exactly, and also thinking about too, a lot of pitchers too when they start working with P. Walker, find the next level, and maybe another soft lefty we've had in the past for you. Look what he did before his injuries and all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's a good point. It's interesting. He will make this team better. There's no denying that if we do that. And I think the Blue Jays, we've talked about them wanting to add another starting pitcher. They can move Yariel back to the bullpen. That'll help manage his innings, plus also give that bullpen a little bit more thump, right? So I like that move. The Blue Jays are definitely going to add a starting pitcher of some kind, right? And I think that's a good idea because Manoa's not ready to the second half. Jake Bloss, who is very important, also struggled mightily since getting to Buffalo over this year. Like the Blue Jays wanted him to be in the big leagues down the stretch last year, and he just pitched so bad in Buffalo he couldn't do it. Bowden Francis was great for a stretch, but it's still got some question marks attached to him. Bassett gave up more walks than any other pitcher in baseball last year. And then Gausman getting older and Jose Barrios was good, but also, it wouldn't surprise anybody if it took a small step back next year. So improving this starting pitching is probably the best route the Blue Jays can go for improving this team.
No, exactly. Especially
Juan Soto
with especially with the players that we have coming back within near the end of the next season to early 2026. 2026. It definitely will help us, but until that time, we need that added starting pitching and all that.
Yeah, and if the Blue Jays are going to do this, if we do quote reek of desperation and we're going all in, then go all in, right? Just say screw it, fuck it, we're going to go for it, let's get this done and just throw it all at the wall and worry about it later, right? If that's
it's
really the avenue you want to go all out.
It's like the casino when you put all the chips in, when you go all in, just throw the chips in the table and let's hope you hit a blackjack.
Sometimes you hit, sometimes the cards come out 21, right? And sometimes they don't, and then you're homeless. But, we'll worry about that later, I suppose. Either way, one more offer and then two more trade rumors, actually, that the Blue Jays have been interested in. And quickly, I just want to get your thoughts on these. One of them is a starting pitcher, and that is Luis Severino. Apparently, the Blue Jays checked in on him very early in the opening free agent process here. And then a third baseman, Yoan Moncada. The Blue Jays apparently have had interest in him, who hasn't really had a good year, I think, since 2021, but was a top prospect with the Chicago White Sox and could be a prime change of scenery candidate. Do you have a thought on either of those two and the Blue Jays' interest in them?
Severino is definitely interesting because we've seen him a lot in the past. So when he was part of the Yankees and all that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate it because he is when he's on, he's on. We've seen it before. When he's on, he can be a game changing back end of the rotation too. If you put him in, he's no ace, but you put him in the 3 or 4 spot in the rotation. That'd be a nice way to lengthen your rotation, and then if you add such a max free, that'd be one tier rotation. Because then you have
you have more depth, you have more guys, right?
Oh, the depth too, and just the player. But obviously that means Francis or some other people may not be in the rotation that we would like to see. But if it means victories and a World Series, sure, why not? And then with Moncada, I remember him when he was even with the Red Sox before they traded him for Chris Sale, being a really high-end prospect. I originally thought that he was the second baseman coming up with the Red Sox, and that was his. So maybe if maybe he comes over here, maybe we put him in this as second, where he naturally was, and maybe we can find that magic that he had in 2021 again. Who really wants to be with the White Sox after last season or it was a wash. So
yeah, vibes were not good. There were some reports coming out of that White Sox clubhouse from some players talking. It was just straight up depressing. So who was the player that was with the Dodgers that got traded to the White Sox this year? The outfielder was a former top prospect.
Not Trace Thompson.
No, I don't remember his name, but it's he went over there and apparently he was like, "This is terrible." It just deflated him.
Oh, yeah, right after when they traded for Tommy Edman and all that, it was
yeah. Not Verdugo. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Someone in the comments.
Vargas. I think Vargas.
Yeah, maybe that's who it was. Either way, lowly vibes in the White Sox, so maybe a change of scenery could work. I'm not buying it. I'd rather run with our second base platoon, put Will Wagner there, right? Maybe see if Spencer Horwitz can crack a few innings at second base still. See what Orelvis Martinez can do. If Leo Jimenez is still on this roster, let's roll with him. Let's go with something like that. Severino, though, I see it. If he can be had for cheap, maybe. That slider is still very, very good for Luis Severino. Exactly. He still has that pitch, right? So I don't want him to lose that. But his strikeout numbers have dipped dramatically since his time in New York, and his ground ball numbers have also dipped dramatically in his time in New York. And his 3.91 ERA was fine. I think he's going to be right around there, and I don't think we're ever going to get the 2.98 ERA guy we saw in 2017 with the Yankees from Luis Severino. So if he can be had for cheap enough, sure. Also, I believe, if I'm wrong, there was also some character issues with Severino, and the Blue Jays in the past have really avoided guys who have had off-field issues. So maybe there's something there. I'm not buying it. I don't think he's going to be a Blue Jay.
Yeah, I don't think so. But if we have him for cheap, why not?
Right.
Desperate times.
So that's all we've seen for the links directly to the Blue Jays and with certain players in the free agent markets. But Jesse, I have 4 teams here that have both, quote, said they've wanted to move some salary this offseason, which if the Blue Jays are in desperation mode, they could be a team that really wants to pounce on this. So I'll give you the 4 teams here, Jesse. That is the Philadelphia Phillies, the Texas Rangers, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Minnesota Twins. All 4 of those teams might be looking to dump some salary and move some players this year, and the Blue Jays could be primed to take advantage. Is there any player on any of those rosters that you think, hey, we could get a fit here and join the Toronto Blue Jays?
There's 2 from the Phillies that I've seen the names circulating, and I literally just read something before we came on here. Alec Bohm and Nick Castellanos have been really coming around in the Phillies market, saying that they want to share their contract and all that. And then, which kind of makes sense when right after I saw that, they said they're looking into possibly bringing Alex Bregman to Philadelphia. So you get those. And those 2 players are exactly what this roster needs to, if it's not Juan Soto, where you have a third baseman who has pop and plays, and then you have a outfielder who, again, has pop, plays decent enough defense, and literally can come up in the clutch and hit those home runs when we need them or in big moments. So I feel like those 2 would be a huge addition to the Jays if somehow we manage to get them. Then again, there's rumors with St. Louis too, with possibly Arenado wanting to go, but then they're saying he really wants to go to the evil empire. But there's players too, like Wilson Contreras, who I wouldn't mind even if we use him as a DH and as mainly a DH and just backup catcher because of what happened to his arm. He doesn't really want to catch, or even pick up a Lars Newbar, what me and you have really liked for years.
Yep, if he can ever hit the ball in the air, man, Lars Newbar is going to be a stud. But
yeah, it's just like Varsho. This is the Varsho issue.
Yeah.
Then you have again. Then there's the rumors with the Twins where because of the TV revenue, possibly moving from Royce Lewis, which again, Blue Jay killer, Byron Buxton. And yes, he's always injured, but still can be a guy.
Yeah, when he's playing, he's good, right? I'll take my chances with a guy like that. Plays good center field defense too. The Blue Jays are going to be without Kevin Kiermaier, or not. Well, Blue Jays will be without Kevin Kiermaier all season. The Blue Jays will be without Dalton Varsho for the first at least a few weeks of the regular season, maybe. Getting a guy who can play a decent center field, and if he can be had for cheap, I'm with you. Alec Bohm worries me a little bit, Jesse. And first of all, answer this question: who would you rather have if you can only have one? Nolan Arenado or Alec Bohm?
I would take Alec Bohm just because of the age and the future possibilities of what he can be, because he's still young.
28 years old is Alec Bohm, former top prospect. This will be, I believe, his 5th season in the big leagues for Alec Bohm. Just came off his best year. We saw him at the home run derby, right? Putting some stuff together. Still only hit 15 home runs, though, a 115 WRC plus for Alec Bohm. And I worry about a guy splits, especially in the second half. He was a below average hitter in the second half, only hit 4 home runs, 681 OPS in the second half for Alec Bohm last year. I don't love that, right? I mean, it could be nothing, but
if I'm sure,
Alec Bohm just got hot for a month and then settled back down.
That is possible, but if I'm because I am a Blue Jays fan, but I do follow the Phillies, like how you follow the Rockies and all that.
Yeah.
Alec Bohm was hurt for a big part of the second half. He had remember when the Phillies came to Toronto, he was out for that series because he had that thumb injury.
Yes, true. Yeah,
and that got worse, and so they just put him on the shelf until right before the playoffs.
Okay, good, interesting. So yeah, maybe it is as simple as the injury has hampered him. He's fully recovered and he's good to go. I'm just going to play a quick round of what about this guy, and it's coming from those 4 players' teams. What if the Texas Rangers want to move on from Marcus Semien? Do we take him back?
Please come back. I'll take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Kind of down numbers across the board for Marcus Semien last year, but I think you and me and Blue Jays fans everywhere, that would be fantastic. Come back to Toronto. Come back.
No, exactly. Just because I feel like ever since he left, our leadership and it would just really diminish after that season.
That was the last feel-good team the Blue Jays had, was when Marcus Semien was here, so that would make a lot of sense. What about this guy? And sticking with the Texas Rangers, they have a crowded outfield. What if Adolis Garcia could make his way here. On that,
man, that Rob Barger of a home run in a heartbeat. Like, kind of, yeah, he had a down year last year, but what we've seen him do in the past, absolutely.
Yeah, a guy could provide some thump for this team. Could spruce it up a little bit. St. Louis, as we know, has that crowded outfield. You mentioned Lars Nootbaar. Alec Burleson's a name I like, right? Could be a name that comes over here too. And Minnesota has always intrigued me with some of their players. Matt Wallner, if he was available, he could do things. Willie Castro did some nice things. Maybe they're sour on Edouard Julien, right? You know, he's Kevin Biggio 2.0 as far as I'm concerned, but maybe can hit for more power. They have some interesting names here that the Blue Jays could look to target to supplement their roster.
No, definitely. And with Julien, it's like if Romano's gone this year, we need to get our Canadian quota back. Like, the Avalanche Canadian, but
Zach
we need
Pop
our
isn't
Canadian.
doing it.
No, Zach Poop can go right down the toilet.
All right, Jesse, before we talk some awards and we start talking some front office stuff, just give me a name right now, your prediction, the first name that joins the Toronto Blue Jays, whether it be via trade or free agency, will be? The suspense
Jeff
is killing
Hoffman.
me. Jeff Hoffman. Interesting. I like that. Would you use him as a starter?
No. He will be our setup if we do not, or closer if we do not keep Romano.
Okay, good call. I like that call. I think I'd rather have Jeff Hoffman than like Tanner Scott, than Carlos Estevez, than some of the other high-end relievers up there. So I do like that call.
Yeah, I don't trust Estevez or Scott because, yes, they're good, but like something about them just scares
relievers,
me.
Buddy. We've been burned by relievers before, so we know how it goes. All right. Well, hearty congratulations to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who not only just won his second Silver Slugger Award, he also was nominated to MLB's All-First Team for the second time in his career. Monster season, 1 hit shy of 200, got to the 30 home runs, hit 323 and 940 OPS for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Fantastic season. Absolutely well-deserved. A season, honestly, coming into this year, we really needed to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. put together again, and glad we were able to see that. Just congratulations for our Dominican superstar.
And I'll tip my cap to that.
Tip my cap to that. Good stuff, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Absolutely. Let's see it again in 2026 as you enter a contract year, if you're not under extension. Yes, that's right. Two's the front office, Jesse, and two, the coaching staff here. This one was very interesting. The Blue Jays hired David Pickens as their new hitting coach this year. And when it happened, sorry, my mistake. You're right. But when that happened, we noted that, hey, they passed over Matt Hague for a job here. And we were both kind of talking like we thought this was Matt Hague's job to lose. We thought, the way he talked up. I remember Joey Loperfido and Spencer Horowitz specifically really complimented a lot about what Matt Hague had done for their swings and for their team. And look, he was probably mad the Blue Jays passed over him, and he did what he absolutely should have done. He went out and looked for other expectations, and the 39-year-old has taken his work that he's done in Toronto and got a job with the Pittsburgh Pirates as to be their hitting coach. So, Jesse, how big of a loss is it going to be that we no longer have Matt Hague with these hitters next year?
I think it might actually be a pretty big morale, killer for some of the Buffalo boys who have worked with him coming up, like Ernie, Horowitz, Schneider, Loperfido, as he said, like all these guys who have worked with Matt Hague directly for so many years and have become who they are because of him. It could make this hopefully Hawkins can still work well with them like Hague did, and like they don't regress just because of their morale. But again, too, maybe with Hague leaving, then it helps the Jays possibly use the Buffalo boys who have worked with Hague and use those in trade pieces to send them because of their what could possibly happen in that. So maybe it's all circulates with if Hague's gone now, let's move these players before they possibly have down years because of the different hitting mindset and viewpoints that we have.
Makes a lot of sense, Jesse. I like where your brain is going with that, thinking creatively outside of the box there on what this could mean. I just know, like, look, you have a young phenom. He was 38 years old. He was widely regarded as one of the best young hitting minds in the brain. The thing I like the most about Matt Hague is he actually got in the players' heads, right? Because we've talked a lot, especially late in the season last year, how maybe there are just too many coaches on this Blue Jays coaching staff, right? 3 or 4 different people all giving you different opinions, right? You have like your hitting coach, then you have an assistant hitting coach, and then you have your bench coach, your offensive coordinator, you have a swing coach, you have so many different people coming in here telling you what to do. It seems like Matt Hague was one of the players that was actually able to get their message across to some Toronto Blue Jays players. And I think with that not here, it's going to be tough, right? It's going to be really hard. I mean, our new hitting coach guy might be able to do that, and then it's not an issue, and we'll see. But I genuinely do think losing Matt Hague and keeping Don Mattingly, for what it's worth, is not a good move for the future of this Toronto Blue Jays, whether it's major or it's minor. I'm not a fan.
No, definitely. Like, I still don't understand why they kept Mattingly. I thought he should have been sent to the moon.
Yeah.
But like losing Matt Hague, he does have the history of being a foreign player. Yes, he wasn't a big name player or anything like that, but he knows how it is. But then again, with Hawkins, you've heard the rave reviews of the players, like Carlos Correa and a lot of the Minnesota Twin players that have said his knowledge and way of viewing of the game changed who I was as a hitter. I've never been a better hitter, and those are like quotes from Correa. So maybe in the like mindset too with the revenue change and then Hawkins and that maybe we'll have players want to come to Toronto and via the trades with the Twins in that or former Twin players.
Jesse, buddy, I just want anybody who's going to help this team and to make it win. And it's just I've got this upsetting like bug, I guess, in my stomach that just makes me feel like whatever we're going to do is not going to be enough. Maybe it's because I'm still like grieving over last offseason when our big moves were Justin Turner and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and we were told like, this is it, guys. This is going to be the thing that's going to take us up. And we're all like, what the hell are you talking about? And then we won 74 games just like we thought they were going to. And then we're just like completely fooled. And that's kind of how I feel about the way this Blue Jays go. It sucks. It's a rough vibe, and it's not feeling so good right now.
Oh, I know. Like it definitely sucks. Like just thinking, like trying that, but I'm just drinking the desperate Kool-Aid, but it's working right now for me.
Well, if you are my guy, toss them over this way. I need some of that. Get the things going. I guarantee you, once we get into spring training and we see how this offseason looks, we'll get in. We will buy the hype. And a Juan Soto signing tomorrow could change a lot of that. We will very, very likely see. It's going to be a very interesting, I believe, week. And I do think we're getting to the point now where a team in baseball other than the Los Angeles Angels can start making some transactions here, because it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And, we're into mid-November now, right? Teams have been able to talk to these players for a while. I think the trade movements are going to start to fall as they may. We'll see 1 or 2 big name signings go off the board probably this week. And then from there, we can figure this stuff out. So I think it'll be sooner rather than later we start to get some Blue Jays transactions going on.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Even if they're minor ones, I told mine, and then, and especially when the draft lottery comes, let's see what happens if we'll end up with number 1 or number 2. That would be great.
Speaking of the draft lottery and the upcoming draft coming up, the Blue Jays have finally hired a new director of amateur scouting. We hired a guy by the name of Mark Tremotta, who was director of amateur scouting for the New York Mets. He was in charge of getting guys like Mark Vientos, who was really big for the Mets in their postseason run, as well as a lot of their top prospects that are in their system, craving the Mets, who have one of the top half farm systems in all of baseball. Look, the biggest failing, I would say, of the Toronto Blue Jays in the whole since 2016, since Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro took over, has been their inability to develop and draft starting pitching of any kind whatsoever, right? And I think Shane Farrell, the amateur scouting director, probably has a lot to do with that. So he is now gone, right? We have this new guy coming in. He's got to be better than what Shane Farrell was, right? Coming through, doing things, and obviously it's a big draft for the future of the Toronto Blue Jays, but this move is more about the 2030 Toronto Blue Jays, the 2031 Toronto Blue Jays, more than it is about affecting and helping this team this season. So I'm glad Shane Farrell's gone. We definitely needed a new voice in there. If we can please just develop some prospects we can get excited about, this would be great. But do you have a thought about the new amateur scouting director that the Toronto Blue Jays have hired?
I definitely think it is a step in the right direction because, again, like you said, the Mets after last not this past season, but season 4 when they kind of blew it up, sort of when they got rid of Scherzer, Verlander, and the players like that. They brought in a bunch of young players like Acuna, the brother of Ronald Acuna on the Braves, like a bunch of little young prospects, and they all were key parts of their success this year, and especially and also Grimace and OMG like helped the Mets, but a lot of the players that did come up, the young guys like Vientos, Alvarez, and that like key parts, key members of the team and their success. So like hopefully, this new guy will definitely be able to add that to our organization because we are in desperate need since Anthopoulos left.
I agree, my guy. It's got to be something, right? We got to see some developing in the system, and the way teams like the Dodgers, who have been good for years, they've always been able to properly develop their teams, right? The way the teams like say the Detroit Tigers, who took a big step forward this year, got into the playoffs, beat out the Astros, was because they had a good developing system coming through. Blue Jays need to do that, and that should be.
They
really,
also didn't have Baez playing for them, but that's another story.
Yeah, well, hey, like the Blue Jays have similar players, though. Then Baez, like guy on an older contract who's not producing. Wow, they just decided to not let him play, and the Blue Jays took off. I don't know. Looking at you, George Springer, maybe that might be the way to go about for this Blue Jays team this year. I don't know, but the Blue Jays, and Keegan Matheson said this to us best when we were talking to him towards the end of the season. He said the Blue Jays don't want to look dumb. I think they're more embarrassed about looking dumb than doing the simple thing that might help them win baseball games. And you can see it in the way their actions are with how they churn through the waiver wire instead of calling up a guy like Hagen Danner to pitch for this team last year, like with keeping George Springer in the leadoff spot, right? Like they don't want to look
calling up Flaharty. Like even Mason Flaharty could have helped our bullpen. Like he's a soft thrower, but he was a dominant closer in AAA.
And Keegan talked to us about his book that he is making, which you all should pre-order, by the way. We fully support that book. Go get it. But he had the chapter about Shohei Ohtani and how that was a failure for the Toronto Blue Jays. They berated him for it. Ben Nicholson-Smith, who wrote that piece about how the Blue Jays hadn't drafted or developed any pitching ever, basically, right? And the Blue Jays were embarrassed by that. It's like the Blue Jays hate it when someone comes out there and make them seem like they're not smart. And it's at the end of the day, I think it's an ego thing for Ross Atkins and for Mark Shapiro. And they don't like it when you come down and attack their ego. And I think that's what they're trying to do. It's like there's this team they built that won 74 games last year, hurt their ego. And they're trying to do whatever they can now to get out there and try to save face to make it seem like, no, I'm smart. I'm the man. I can do this. And I don't think that's the type of guy I want running my team, for what it's worth.
No, exactly. Like, I'd rather you bite the bullet and, like, yeah, if you have to eat some money to get rid of a George Springer because of how much he's digressed, do it. Like, look at what the Astros did. Like, bringing up the Astros. Look what they did with Jose Abreu. Look at what a couple of years ago, many years ago, when the Red Sox got rid of like Adrian Gonzalez, Carl Crawford, and all them and traded them to the Dodgers because they weren't performing. They paid them a lot. They weren't working. They ended up turning their team around and winning World Series. You gotta do it sometimes. Like, yes, it sucks, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and not just ride it out.
Just good points there, Jesse, and I agree with you very much. It's what we got to do. Ben Nicholson-Smith just dropped another article for the Toronto Blue Jays, and it's a lot of the same things we've already heard, but there's one little glimpse in here about moving into what the Blue Jays could look for this offseason. It says they're going to be patient in fixing the bullpen and in fixing the backup catcher market, which is both things we've said. Yeah, that'll probably happen. But they're very motivated in the starting pitching market, and apparently they've urged a lot of high-end starting pitchers to, before they sign a deal with a new team, circle back to the Toronto Blue Jays. So it sounds to me like we're going to spend a lot of money this year, buddy. Like if Corbin Burns has a deal to say, I don't know, go to LA, and they want his agent to come back to the Toronto Blue Jays, be like, this is my deal with LA. Are you going to beat it? And it sounds like the Blue Jays are going to beat it. The Blue Jays are going to overpay for somebody. Guaranteed.
Definitely.
Some big name is going to
100%.
come here. And who's the player that values money more than anything else? Because that is the player that will be pitching in Toronto next season. Guaranteed. You can figure out who that is. I can tell you who's in our rotation next
year. Roaming in right field.
Oh, please, yes, honestly. Or part of me just wants to see Addison Barger get the roll and run, but yeah, adding another outfielder is not a bad idea.
No, like if Soto even said he's like, I'll play for anyone. I just want money. I don't care about what.
Yeah, and if that truly is the case, then I'm with you. Maybe there is as high as a 70% chance of Juan Soto becoming a Toronto Blue Jay, right? If that really is all that matters is the money, the Blue Jays have lots of it. They're desperate to spend it. You could be honest. Get her done, exactly. All right, Jesse. Little short today. I'm out of content. I have nothing else to go for. No more Blue Jays news. No breaking news has come out at this point. Was there anything else you wanted to mention that caught your eyes for the Blue Jays? We've done a lot of theory and roster building stuff this episode, so I don't know. We've even talked some Taylor Swift this episode. A lot of all of it. What you got?
All I know is my wife's excited for next week to go to it, so she'll be there singing her heart's out. I won't be, but at least she's to enjoy that.
That's great. You know, I'll be in Toronto actually tonight, the same time as the Taylor Swift show, but I will be at Scotiabank Arena cheering on our Toronto Raptors and Detroit Pistons. So it'll be fun navigating downtown Toronto during that time, but no Swiftie for me. However, I will be at the Bills Chiefs football game on Sunday night, or on Sunday afternoon, and Taylor will probably be there too. So maybe I'll ask her if she heard anything about the Blue Jays free agent rumors, and if she knows anything, maybe she's used in part of negotiations. Who knows? Maybe what could be going on here. So very
maybe see if she hung out at the front rooftop before the show.
Yeah, hey, if Taylor Swift was there on Wednesday and Juan Soto was also there on Wednesday, maybe there's something there. Shout out to Taylor Swift. Maybe they'll make a new song about Juan Soto. Like, who knows what could happen? Who knows? Doubt it, but who knows? The Blue Jays could probably use their power in a lot of different ways. It'd be very great. But yeah.
But also, if you at Buffalo, make sure you tuck your chin if you're going through a table when you're at the Buffalo tailgate.
We will see. Stay tuned to social media pages. We'll have a bunch of content from there. I'm hoping to get down to Salem Field as well, just to maybe pop into the store. And I know there's no Buffalo Bisons baseball games going on at this time, but you know, I like our boys in Buffalo. Maybe I'll pick up some merch or something while I'm on my way there.
Yeah, why not? It's a great ballpark. Definitely have enjoyed being there, and yeah, get your Buffalo Boys gear. Join the club.
All right, we will be back next week, likely on Friday after my vacation is over, to discuss all the news that has happened this week. If any major breaking news happens, we will definitely go live and record it. I will be at a hotel somewhere across the United States, so it might be a little choppy, but you can bet we are going to get content out there if anything happens big for the Toronto Blue Jays going this week, which honestly, I hope it does. I'm ready. Let the transaction start. It's time. Let's get going. Like, I can only get so excited about a Travis d'Arnaud signing and a Jorge Soler trade this offseason. Like, we need some more stuff coming through.
Oh, definitely. Need something a little bit more spicier.
And we'll get it. So please make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Record-setting numbers for our live viewership here today, which thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was very nice to have you all and interacting with us as we went through the episode. And you can tell, not only are we hungry for Blue Jays news, it sounds like all of you guys are hungry for some Blue Jays news as well. So please make sure to like, to subscribe, follow us, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X. We'll get a Blue Sky account here at some point. Anywhere you can follow the show, we'll be doing that. Jesse, anything else to add before we get out of here?
Well, just if you guys want to interact, hit us up on the socials. We're more than happy to give you our input.
We will be back next week. Thank you for listening and watching and interacting. And once again, let's go Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.